Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and Pokemon fans of the world, Mega Crasher is here to bring to you, well, a beginner's guide to understanding EVs, aka effort values. Now this right here is an article that is produced by Smogon, which I will leave a link in the description box down below for your guys' reading needs, because it's actually pretty damn awesome. But what I'm going to be doing here is not only reading you guys a little bit of this article, but I want to try and put my own spin on instructing to you guys the understanding of EVs. See, I want to be your guys' teacher. Your guys' crazy, but somewhat smart teacher. So anyways, a little bit of an introduction here. So, you guys are wondering, what is an EV? No, an EV is not a Pokemon in this situation. Well, I mean, EV technically, yes, is a Pokemon, but EVs and the Pokemon Eevee are two completely different cans of wormies and beanies. So just follow me here. So, an EV is an effort value. So, they're commonly known as actually a very, very important part of the competitive aspects in Pokemon. Now you see, you got your people who play Pokemon just for the storylines, and they either don't know about EV spreads or they don't care about EV spreads. They just play for the storyline or whatever. And then you got the competitive players who play Pokemon for the competitive aspects of it. And this is where the EVs come into play. So you have Pokemon who have standard EV spreads of 252, 252, and then 4. So if you were going to be an offensive Pokemon, say for example a physical attacker, we'll say something like an Infernape, for example. So an Infernape would be 252 attack, 252 speed, and maybe 4 into special defense or something like that. Or say if you have a defensive Pokemon like say maybe a Landorus, Therian for example, you'd have 252 EVs into the HP, you'd have 252 EVs into the physical defense, and then say 4 into, I don't know, speed or something like that, or special defense. So basically, the mechanics of it is that you only are allowed to have a maximum of 510 EVs. Anywhere past that is illegal. 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 You can't have that happen. It's gotta be 510. Gotta keep it fair, friends. Gotta keep it fair. So, a maximum of 510 EVs, and yet only 508 of those can be used. You got 2 remaining EVs that don't even matter. That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird how it works. So, I mean, yeah, it's weird. And just a little bit of a side note here, EVs and IVs, don't get those two confused, okay? While something like IVs are just as important, if not even more important than EV spread, they're two completely different things. At the end result of it all, you're going to want to have a maximum IV of 31 in all of your stats. Unless, of course, you're either using a hidden power that requires for a couple of your stats to be 30, or if you were going to be a special attacker, you're going to want to have that attack IV to 0. Because of the fact that Foul Play is a very, very good move, and you don't want to be taking damage from Foul Play. So, let's just scroll down here a little bit. So for example, and it even shows right here, you have an Excadrill versus a Keldeo. An Excadrill with no attack, but with a Life Orb, when it goes to use Earthquake, it will do a little over 2/3 damage to Keldeo, 67.4 to 79.5% to be exact. And while that damage is certainly respectable, you're not going to be able to take it out in one hit because Keldeo can just one-shot you back with one of its moves. Now let's take a look at if a Excadrill has 252 on the attack, and you go up against the same Keldeo with the same build. You have 81.4 to 95.6 damage, and that's impressive. And once you end up using that attack, like say, for example, if you have something like an entry hazard or sandstorm on the field, like say if you're a Sand Rush Excadrill, you have a higher percentage of actually one-shotting Keldeo upon switching in, thanks to the combination of sandstorm damage and entry hazard damage. Like say if you have a layer of spikes down, for example, or maybe it's switched into Stealth Rocks a couple of times, and you factor that, you have a much, much higher percentage of one-shotting Keldeo. So that right there is actually pretty damn awesome. Some general trends here. I actually made a reference to this a little bit earlier with the 252, 252, 4 EV spreads here. You got some general trends such as that. And you also have other trends, like say for example, if you are a mixed attacker, like say Infernape. Infernape is actually a great mixed attacker. You have an EV spread of say 128 attack, 128 special attack, and 252 speed. The reason for that is because you want to have good mixed offensive presence. You want to be able to attack people with not only your physical attack, but attack them with some special attacks. And being a mixed attacker is actually really, really good, because that way you're not limited to only one side of the spectrum when it comes to battling, that being a physical attacker, because if you were to be an all-out physical attacker, you have a higher chance of being walled out by more Pokemon. But if you were to be a mixed attacker, then you would have a much less of a chance of being walled out completely, because you got your physical and your special walls, like say for example Blissey, although I don't even understand why Blissey would want to switch into an Infernape, but let's just say that it did, and let's just say that it thinks that your Infernape is a special attacker because it just used Overheat or something like that, and of course it's going to switch out. That is until you catch a super effective close combat to the face. You ever think about that? Just, yeah. So, that right there is an example, and I'm actually going to go one step further and go on to Pokemon Showdown and use Landorus Therian as a perfect example here for this video. So, you see down here, you got the EV spreads here. So, if you want to be an all-out offensive powerhouse, like say, for example, you want your Landorus to be full-out offensive, like say, for example, you want it to be a Scarfed or Banded set. So what you would want to do is you want to max out the attack, max out the speed, and depending on the kind of nature that you want, natures are also very important too when it comes to the battling aspect of Pokemon. Some people would choose to go for Adamant. Me, I'm more of a speed guy, so let's go for Jolly. So with a Jolly nature, you're actually hitting over 300 speed, which is actually very respectable. So you can go for something like a Choice Scarf set, which locks you in one move but boosts your speed stat by one stage. You can go for a Choice Band set, which locks you in one move but boosts your attack stat by one stage. Or you can be offensive, like say for example, you want to be sort of like a Swords Dance set. So we'll go for something like an Earth Plate, because Earth Plate and Earthquake, oh my god. It is powerful. So, Earth Plate would boost the power of Ground-type moves by 20%. And say if you want to go for something like Swords Dance, maybe throw in a Rock Polish because you want to be sort of like a double dance set, or so they say. Have Earthquake and maybe something like Stone Edge. And there you go. And what's even better about understanding EVs on Smogon and Pokemon Showdown is that depending on the set and the EVs that you use, it'll actually come up with a suggested spread for you to go by, because they are thinking that you're going to be turning that Pokemon into an offensive powerhouse. But say, for example, if that doesn't work for you, say if you don't want to use a Pokemon like that, say you don't want to use Landorus like that, and you want to use like a defensive Landorus, so in that case there, you would want to go for something like maybe a Leftovers or a Rocky Helmet. I'm a Leftovers kind of guy because I love passive recovery. So you would want to go for something like maybe Stealth Rocks and 3 attacks or something like that, like Stealth Rocks, U-turn, just to be able to have that ability to scout and Earthquake, and Stone Edge. And this right here, again, like the spread changes to a bulky physical sweeper. You click on that, and you got something like this. But this right here is more or less meant to be a defensive set. So we'll go to Impish Nature, just take out the attack, put in that defense, and there you go. You see how drastically that changed right there. You went from being an offensive Pokemon to a defensive Pokemon. And for something like Landorus Therian, that thing does very well in both roles, whether it be an offensive role or a defensive role. So that right there is a little bit of a demonstration. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really up to you on what kind of EV spreads you want, like whatever EV spreads work for you. And there are actually certain Pokemon that use a very, very complex EV set. Like say for example, you wanted to use a Gyarados. You got Gyarados that would run 88 EVs into its HP, and then the rest of its stats would be kind of broken up. I'll actually be right back and show you guys what I'm talking about, so just stay tuned. Okay guys, we are back, and as you see right here, we are on the Smogon page for Gyarados. Now, the EV spread I was making reference to is right here. Now, although you got your basic EV spreads of 252, 252, and then 4, as I was saying, you got also your more complex EV spreads for specific reasons. As you see right here, you got 88 HP, 220 attack, 4 defense, and 196 speed. Now, for someone that is on the outside looking in, you're thinking that is one random EV spread right here. Why is this even happening? And they'll even explain it right here in the set details. The given HP and defense EVs prevent Gyarados' substitute from being broken by a burned Ferrothorn's Power Whip, allowing for it to set up easier on it. And yeah, like you would have certain EV spreads to fill certain roles in battle and be able to take on a more diverse stance in battle, we'll say. For example, in last generation, Conch Elder ran a bulk up special defensive set with 252 EVs into its HP, 252 into special defense, and like 4 into attack or something like that. But now this generation, thanks to Assault Vest, which locks you into attacking moves only, but boosts your special defense by 50%, now Conch Elder can actually invest more into its special defense and make better use out of Assault Vest and actually be quite the special tank, while being an effective physical attacking tank too. So there you go. Like this right here, like I said, is only a beginner's guide to understanding EVs. There is actually a lot more to it than just this little bit right here, but it's a great start if you are an amateur at competitive battling. This right here would definitely be a big step in the right direction. So if you guys are interested in becoming a competitive battler, then definitely read up on that article, which I will leave a link to in the description box down below. And there you go. So I'm not going to take up any more of your guys' time. I am not an expert on competitive battling, although I'm certainly no amateur myself. I'm not an expert. I myself still have a lot to learn. So when it comes to videos like these, please take what I say with a pinch of salt, because like I said, I am not a seasoned battler. You got people who have higher credentials than me, who would be in more of a position to instructing people on how to be a competitive battler. But on the same note, I do believe that I am also in a position to do that myself, because I have a few years experience under my belt. So thank you guys for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it and understand this, then please feel free to give this a thumbs up, and be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to Mega Crasher in the community. Because when we are community tightly knit as one, we shine brighter than the sun, baby. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I shall see you guys next upload!